Hey there guys, Roy here with Radiant Clean. Today we're doing a pool patio, screen enclosure, and driveway here in Fishhawk. Got some typical paver action going on. A little mold and mildew. Patio is a little bit in more need of help. The screens don't look too bad. We'll just take a quick walk through here. Sidewalks are obviously in need of some help, but filling the tank right now, getting some water into that. Got the pressure hose pulled, so we did some protection already. We put a little drop cloth over a bar that they have that has wood on it, so I just don't want that to get sprayed with bleach. Here's the patio. I'll get this taken care of. That's not too bad. This one bad thing about pavers is they get all that mold and mildew in between the pavers, in between the stones. So looks like we have some flow issues over here, so we'll have to make sure we get that. Alright, screens aren't too bad. I don't see a lot of mold or mildew, algae. It's got some oxidation on it, so I'm not really going to be able to take care of that. Oxidation doesn't get washed with the regular washing, so under the cover it's not too bad, but like I said, we covered that up with some plastic drop cloth just so that we don't spray it. But alright, this should be a pretty straightforward job this morning. We'll let the water flow, get out the surface cleaner, and get to work. We'll be back with you shortly. Alright guys, and what you see me doing here is putting down a first application of detergents and water. So what we're using is the soft wash downstreaming process. So this uses our pressure washer, but we're not using high pressure. We're using low pressure just with lots of water. So this puts out about 8 gallons a minute. And our downstreaming is basically mixing in low percentage of sodium hypochlorite or bleach, pretty much the same thing that you'd put in your pool, chlorine, and it's about a 1.5% mix that's just strong enough to kill mold and mildew and algae, but not really damage any of the plants, not really damage paint or anything like that. It's not gonna it's not super harsh. Now if it's left on to dry too long, it can oxidize paint. And so we rinse it off after we apply it. But what you can see me doing here is not using pressure, just applying that initial mix of chemical to the screen, both outside and inside, and then to the screen enclosure frame. You can see as I'm doing this, I'll go from different directions because we want to make sure that we're getting all sides of that screen enclosure frame. if you just hit it from one angle, you're not getting the other side. So we want to make sure that we're getting all of that. All right, now after letting that bleach mix dwell for about 5 minutes or so, 5 to 8 minutes, this one wasn't too bad, so we didn't let it dwell very long. We let that stay on there without drying out, just to kill the mold and mildew and algae. But what you see me doing now is just rinsing thoroughly from the outside. So we rinse both from the outside and the inside, making sure to get all of that bleach rinsed off. It also knocks off a lot of the spider webs and mold and mildew and algae and all that kind of stuff that's still out there. It's clinging to the screen and to the outside frame. So we start from the outside and then go back in the inside and rinse it off in there. You can see here that even though I'm hitting this with a lot of water, again, we're not using pressure, we're soft washing this. And that's because the pressure can damage screens, so it can rip out screens, but it can also wash away oxidation. And so oxidation just happens from sun exposure and stuff on the paint. It gets that chalky kind of coat, so if you actually touch oxidized paint, you'll get like a chalky film on your finger. And if you hit it with high pressure, it'll leave zebra striping, where some of it might wash off, but not all of it. And the same thing with screens. You can get some oxidation on screens as well. So if you're hitting it with too high a pressure, you're going to get these kind of zigzaggy stripes in it. That is typical when you see somebody using a high pressure wand or something like that and trying to do screen cleaning or house cleaning or something. They're using high pressure, they're not using chemicals, they're not using soft wash, and it leaves behind that zebra pattern that people get angry about. So we avoid that, obviously. And this is just a lot safer for the materials. It's safer for the paint and it's safer for the screen. We often get questions from customers concerned about spraying chemicals into the pool. Like I said earlier, what we're using is sodium hypochlorite, which we literally buy from a pool chemical supply company. So it's a stronger mix than what you could buy typically as a consumer. But we water that down, we dilute it to the necessary range to make it safe to work with and effective. But it's literally the same stuff that's going in your pool. So even if you have a saltwater pool, the chlorine that we're spraying is not going to damage your pool. So it's diluted, and then especially after we wash it down, you were spraying a lot of water during the rinsing process. So it will sometimes raise the level of your pool because we're pumping a lot of gallons of water, but it is not going to damage your pool at all. right, got the bleach on and got it rinsed off. Mostly just spider webs and stuff like that. There wasn't a lot of algae, but so got that all rinsed off. Now we're gonna start with the surface cleaner. One of the things I've started doing when I'm using the ball valve is using personal protection, because sometimes that thing gets so loud that it really hurts my ears at the end of the day. So, gotta protect those ears. All right, that's surface cleaning done. We're gonna rinse this, and then after that, we're gonna treat it with some sage. All right, so after a thorough rinse using the ball valve, get all the dirt and sand and crud off of here, mold and mildew. What we're doing here is post-treating and using sodium hypochlorite. We're using about a 4% mix. These were pretty moldy over here in the corner and stuff, so want to make sure we get those clean. But essentially what this does is this is going to kill all the mold and mildew that are in the cracks and crevices, and it's going to suppress that growth in the future. It's also going to eliminate some of the striping and stuff like that can happen when you're cleaning. So, you know, as the surface cleaner goes around, certain areas get a little bit deeper cleaning than others. So by post-treating this with the sodium hypochlorite, it's going to eliminate that. Now, we don't have any surfactant or anything like that mixed in here. It's just literally water and SH. And we let that sit and dry. It'll lighten the stones as well, so and kind of make them look new again. Alright, just finished up on the driveway here. Just treated it with some SH. Give it a good rinse. Pavers are always a little more difficult because they are hard to get out of the dirt from the nooks and crannies to rinse it out, but the SH is definitely killing all the nasties. You can see there. The sidewalks look about 1,000 times better. Those had been overdue, so those look good. Got all the algae and whatnot. Those will continue to lighten up as the SH kills stuff. So let's just do a walk through the patio here. I got to get some of these protective things off. So we put some tape and drop cloths and stuff over stuff. So get those off. But this looks a lot better back here. You see that's lightened up significantly. So this area was really dirty. So it looks a lot better. We try to keep the pool as clean as possible, but it's next to impossible to not get some stuff into the pool. It just flows right in there, so but we try our best. And this, a 2, will continue to lighten as the sun comes out. So this section wasn't too bad, so that looks a lot better too. So alright, we're going to get this plastic off and wrap it up, guys, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining Radiant Clean. Bye.